A slap echoes through the park as Officer Robbins strikes a disheveled man sitting on a bench. The homeless man's notebooks and camera lie scattered in a nearby trash can. Onlookers freeze, uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. Officer Green smirks, taking photos of the man's now bloodied lip. Who believe a bum? Robbins taunts. What these arrogant cops don't know. The homeless man is Matthew Dawson, senior park ranger with the National Park Service, currently working undercover with a federal task force. His calm eyes study their badge numbers as they walk away laughing. In exactly 8 minutes, their entire police precinct will begin to crumble. Sometimes, authority figures should be more careful about whom they choose to humiliate. River City, Pennsylvania, where industrial decline left urban blight alongside affluent redevelopment projects, creating invisible boundaries between the haves and have-nots. Matthew Dawson had spent 25 years protecting America's natural treasures as a National Park Service ranger. At 50, his weathered face carried the quiet confidence of someone used to handling everything from lost hikers to armed poachers. His distinguished career included 10 years at Yellowstone, 7 at Grand Canyon, and commendations for bravery during the 2018 California wildfires. When the Department of Justice formed a special task force to investigate systemic civil rights violations against homeless populations, Matthew volunteered immediately. The assignment: pose as a homeless man in River City Central Park, documenting the increasingly aggressive Clean Streets initiative that coincided suspiciously with a luxury development project. Your experience handling volatile situations without escalation makes you perfect for this, Task Force Director Catherine Rodriguez had explained during briefing. We need evidence of a pattern, not isolated incidents. For 2 weeks, Matthew had lived apart completely, sleeping on benches, wearing tattered clothes, enduring stares and whispers. His training had prepared him for physical discomfort, but the casual cruelty had still shocked him. Store owners hosing down sidewalks when homeless people tried to rest there. Security guards checking wealthy shoppers' receipts only when they spoke with street people. And worst of all, the police, especially the Clean Streets Unit. Under his ragged appearance, Matthew carried 3 concealed cameras, a specialized recording device, and a small satellite transmitter. Each night, he meticulously documented encounters in a weathered notebook, appearing to passing eyes like the ramblings of a troubled mind. In reality, they formed a damning chronology of coordinated harassment. Today was supposed to be his final observation day before the task force moved to Phase 2. Matthew had positioned himself on his usual bench, appearing to doze while actually documenting Officers Robbins and Green forcing an elderly homeless woman from her regular spot near the park's north entrance. He didn't plan on becoming the day's most critical evidence himself. Officers Derek Robbins and Jason Green were the face of River City's Clean Streets Unit, a specialized police team formed 18 months ago with the stated purpose of maintaining order and safety in public spaces. Both men had transferred from different precincts under circumstances that were conspicuously absent from public records. Robbins, 38, carried himself with the exaggerated authority of someone who believed the badge entitled him to absolute deference. His personnel file contained 3 excessive force complaints that had mysteriously disappeared from official records. Green, younger at 32, followed Robbins' lead with eager enthusiasm, seemingly viewing their homeless interactions as entertainment rather than law enforcement. Their unit answered directly to Captain Howard Pearson, who regularly attended closed-door meetings with Westlake Development Group, the company behind the River City Renaissance Project, a $300 million luxury residential complex plan for the area surrounding Central Park. The Clean Streets Unit had a simple, unofficial directive: make the park and surrounding areas inhospitable to the homeless population before groundbreaking began. Their methods had grown increasingly aggressive as the project's timeline accelerated. Remember, these people chose this lifestyle. Pearson often reminded his officers during briefings, reinforcing the dehumanization that enabled their tactics. Each one you relocate brings property values up and crime down. What the Clean Streets Unit didn't know: their activities hadn't gone unnoticed. Federal investigators had been building a case for months, with Matthew serving as their final, crucial embedded observer. The spring afternoon had turned unseasonably warm. Matthew sat on his usual bench, appearing to write in his journal, while actually documenting Officer Green confiscating a homeless teenager's backpack across the pathway. From the corner of his eye, he noticed Robbins and Green completing their patrol and heading toward him. "Time to move along," Robbins announced, stopping directly in front of Matthew's bench, casting a deliberate shadow over him. "Park's being cleaned today." Matthew looked up slowly, maintaining his character. "Is there a cleaning schedule posted somewhere, officer? I didn't see any notices." Green exchanged a glance with Robbins. Most homeless people immediately complied, fearful of escalation. "You being smart with us?" Green asked. "No, sir," Matthew replied softly. "Just asking about the public notice. This is a public park, after all." Robbins' expression hardened. "Let's see some ID." "I don't have current identification," Matthew answered truthfully. His undercover status required leaving official ID behind. "But I'm not breaking any laws by sitting here." "What's in the bag?" Robbins demanded, already reaching for Matthew's weather backpack. "Personal belongings," Matthew replied. "You need a warrant to search that." Robbins laughed. "Warrant? You lawyers now." He grabbed the bag, roughly dumping its contents on the bench. The notebook, a water bottle, some energy bars, and, most critically, a small but professional-grade camera Matthew used to document incidents. "That's an expensive camera for someone living on the streets," Green said, picking it up. "Where'd you get this?" "It's mine," Matthew answered. "I was a photographer before things got difficult." The cover story had been carefully crafted, plausible enough to explain the camera if discovered. Robbins leafed through the notebook, frowning at the detailed observations written in Matthew's precise handwriting. "What's all this? Looks like you're keeping tabs on police activities." He showed a page to Green. "Times, badge numbers, locations." "It's my journal," Matthew said. "I like to write." "Looks more like you're planning something," Robbins said, his voice dropping dangerously. "Maybe we should take you in for questioning." "The notebook and camera are my personal property," Matthew insisted, injecting the first hint of firmness into his voice. "I'd like them back, please." Officer Green bagged the camera. "We'll need to verify this isn't stolen property." "And this," Robbins added, holding up the notebook, "needs further review. Could be evidence of criminal intent." Matthew stood slowly, careful to appear non-threatening, while subtly activating the recording device in his jacket. "Those are my private thoughts and observations. You have no legal basis to confiscate them." Robbins stepped closer, using his height to intimidate. "You telling me how to do my job now?" "I'm simply stating my rights," Matthew replied. "I'd like to file a formal complaint about this interaction." "What's your badge number again, Officer Robbins?" The request and the use of his name visibly angered Robbins. His face flushed as he glanced around the park. A few passers-by had slowed to watch, but kept their distance. "Your rights." Robbins scoffed, then dramatically tossed Matthew's notebook into a nearby trash can. "There's your complaint form. Fill it out and send it to someone who gives a damn." Matthew remained calm, though his heart raced. "I'll need that notebook back. It contains important personal information. You need to clear out of this park." Green interjected. "Now, or we'll arrest you for trespassing." "This is public property," Matthew said quietly. "I'll be documenting this interaction and reporting your badge numbers." The threat of documentation pushed Robbins over the edge. His face contorted with rage as he closed the distance between them in 2 quick steps. The slap echoed across the park, an open palm across Matthew's face with enough force to snap his head sideways and split his bottom lip. "Document that," Robbins snarled, as nearby witnesses gasped. A young mother hurried her children away. An elderly man on a nearby bench stared at the ground. Green pulled out his phone, snapping photos of Matthew's bloodied face. "Evidence of resisting," he announced loudly, though Matthew hadn't raised a hand. Who exactly will believe a homeless bum over police officers? Robbins taunted, straightening his uniform. "Nobody cares about your complaints. Nobody's listening." Matthew touched his lip, examining the blood on his fingertips. 25 years of law enforcement discipline kept his expression neutral despite the assault. He'd weathered worse in his career, but the public humiliation and injustice burned differently. "I'll give you 1 minute to disappear," Robbins continued, "or you're spending the weekend in lockup for assaulting an officer." Matthew stood straight, meeting Robbins' gaze without flinching. His voice remained steady as he delivered a line that would change everything. "I think you've mistaken exactly who I am and who might be listening, Officer Robbins." Without breaking eye contact, Matthew reached inside his tattered jacket, causing both officers to instinctively reach toward their weapons. Instead of a threat, he withdrew a small black device and pressed a button. "Agent Dawson, code Oak Sentinel, requesting immediate support at Central Park Main Pavilion," he stated clearly. Before either officer could respond, movement erupted throughout the park. A jogger stopped running and pulled out a badge. A woman feeding birds stood and reached inside her coat. A maintenance worker abandoned his trash collection. A black unmarked van pulled up to the park entrance. Director Catherine Rodriguez emerged, flanked by 4 agents and FBI windbreakers. "What the hell is this?" Robbins demanded, hand now resting on his holstered weapon. Matthew wiped the blood from his lip with the back of his hand. Then, with deliberate slowness, he removed his frayed outer layer, revealing a fitted black t-shirt underneath. From an inner pocket, he produced a leather wallet and flipped it open. Senior Park Ranger Matthew Dawson, National Park Service, currently assigned to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division Joint Task Force. His voice had transformed, the hesitant tone replaced by clear authority. "And you just assaulted a federal officer in the execution of his duties." Green's face drained of color. "That's impossible. You're undercover." Matthew finished for him. For the past 2 weeks, documenting a pattern of civil rights violations against the city's homeless population. Rodriguez approached, her badge prominently displayed. "Officers Robbins and Green, I'm Director Rodriguez with the DOJ Special Investigations Unit. Please step away from Ranger Dawson immediately." 2 agents retrieved Matthew's notebook from the trash, while another secured the camera Green had confiscated. Rodriguez examined Matthew's face, noting the reddened cheek and split lip. "Are you all right?" she asked quietly. Matthew nodded. "Nothing permanent." Turning to the officers, Rodriguez's voice hardened. "Matthew Dawson has served with distinction for 25 years. He's received a Valor Award twice for saving lives during wilderness emergencies and was selected personally for this operation due to his exemplary record." Robbins found his voice. "This was entrapment. He provoked." "We have complete audio and video," Matthew interrupted, pointing to 3 nearly invisible cameras concealed in his clothing. "Every interaction from the past 14 days, including today's assault." An agent approached Rodriguez, tablet in hand. "Director," the warrant just came through. "We're authorized to seize all precinct records related to the Clean Streets Initiative and communications with Westlake Development." The growing crowd of onlookers had begun recording with their phones. News of federal agents in the park had traveled fast. "Officers Derek Robbins and Jason Green," Rodriguez announced formally, "you're being detained pending charges of civil rights violations, assault on a federal officer, and evidence tampering. Additional charges may follow as our investigation continues." The next morning, River City woke to headlines splashed across every news outlet. "Federal bust exposes police developer corruption ring." Television footage showed Captain Pearson and 3 Westlake executives being escorted from police headquarters in handcuffs. At a packed press conference, U.S. Attorney Geneva Walsh outlined the investigation's findings. What began as reports of civil rights violations against homeless citizens revealed a disturbing conspiracy. The so-called Clean Streets Initiative was actually a coordinated campaign to forcibly remove homeless individuals to artificially inflate property values for the Westlake Development Project. Matthew stood in the background, now dressed in his formal Park Service uniform, the bruise on his cheek still visible despite attempts to cover it. Evidence from Matthew's documentation proved devastating. Recordings of Pearson instructing officers to make life impossible for homeless residents. Emails between police leadership and developers establishing success metrics for removal. Financial records showing suspicious payments to Police Benevolent Fund. Most damning were Matthew's recordings of 16 separate constitutional violations committed against homeless citizens, including illegal searches, property destruction, and physical intimidation. This case demonstrates a fundamental betrayal of public trust. Walsh continued, "Law enforcement exists to protect all citizens, regardless of housing status or economic situation." By afternoon, the mayor had announced a suspension of the entire Clean Streets unit pending a complete departmental review, and the city council had called an emergency session to create new homeless assistance programs. 3 weeks later, Matthew returned to Central Park, wearing his park ranger uniform. He sat on the same bench where he'd been assaulted, watching children play nearby. Several formerly homeless individuals approached to thank him. They'd been among the first to receive housing vouchers from the city's new emergency program. "I just did what anyone sworn to protect and serve should do," he told a local reporter who recognized him. "The uniform might be different, but the oath is the same. The true measure of justice isn't how we treat the powerful, but how we protect the vulnerable when those with authority abuse it. Sometimes it takes someone willing to walk in another's shoes to restore balance." What would you do if you witnessed an abuse of power? Share your thoughts below.